Chapter 4, A Battle on Two Fronts. The world around Ava blurred, voices overlapping, footsteps rushing, the sterile scent of the hospital thick in the air. She had barely processed Mireille's collapse, barely understood the severity of it before her own body betrayed her. Exhaustion gripped her, her breathing uneven, her muscles too weak. Dr. Levine's voice rang clear despite the haze. "She's struggling. We need to prepare for an emergency C-section." Ava couldn't protest. She knew, she felt it deep in her bones, that she didn't have the strength to bring her child into the world the way she had imagined. The nurses moved swiftly, preparing her for surgery, the soft but urgent murmurs blending into the pounding of her heartbeat. But amidst the controlled chaos, one presence remained constant. Nathanael. He hadn't left her side, not through Mireille's collapse, not through the weight of the moment pressing against her chest. As they wheeled her toward the operating room, his hand found hers, gripping gently yet firmly. He said reassuringly, "I'm here." Ava swallowed hard, the meaning of his words sinking deep. He had stayed, not out of obligation, but out of something else entirely. And as the doors closed behind her, as the surgery began, Ava held on to the knowledge that she wasn't alone, even as she drifted into unconsciousness. The moment Mireille collapsed, doctors and nurses rushed to her side. The ICU team responded swiftly, checking her pulse, preparing an emergency stretcher. Dr. Levine, after checking her vitals, declared urgently, "Her heart is weak, get her stabilized now." Nathanael stood frozen, the reality of the situation pressing against him. Had Mireille always been weak? The shock of losing her home may have pushed her body past its limits. She was lifted onto the stretcher, oxygen mask secured, her face pale beneath the hospital lights. Nathanael stepped forward instinctively. "Nathanael," to a nurse, "where are you taking her?" Nurse, calm but firm, "To the ICU. She needs constant monitoring." They wheeled her through the corridor, her body unmoving, the beeping of machines filling the air. And just as Ava was being prepped for her C-section, Mireille was placed in intensive care, fighting her own battle for survival. Nathanael exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair as the weight of the moment pressed against him. How had he gotten tangled in this? This wasn't his life. This wasn't supposed to be his responsibility. He had been rushing to a board meeting, his assistant calling him on repeat, urgent emails stacking up, executives waiting for his presence. Yet, he had postponed everything. For her, a stranger, low-demeanor person. But he could go. The C-section was a perfect success and Ava gave birth to a baby girl. She named her Wonder. He glanced toward the hospital room where she lay recovering from the C-section, her newborn wrapped safely in blankets. Mireille was still in ICU, unconscious, fighting her own battle. He should have left. He could have walked away after dropping Ava off, told himself he had done enough, returned to his world of controlled power and business deals. But he didn't. And the strangest part was, he hadn't even thought about leaving until now. Something kept him here. Something in the way she had fought through exhaustion, delivering a child while carrying more grief than anyone should endure. Now, she had lost her home. Mireille was barely holding on. She had nothing. And yet, she hadn't asked him for help, not once. That alone unsettled him more than anything. 2 days had passed, and Ava was finally being discharged. Her newborn daughter, wrapped snugly in blankets, nestled peacefully against her chest. Relief settled in, but uncertainty lingered. As Nathanael helped her gather her things, soft whispers floated through the hospital corridors. Nurse 1 whispering to another nurse, "Did you hear? Mr. Duffert's wife was here. Had a baby in secret." Nurse 2, wide-eyed, "I knew it. He never lets anyone into his personal life. He must have married privately." A doctor approached, adjusting his coat with a knowing smile. Clearly, the rumor had spread quickly. Chuckling, the doctor remarks, "Marriage suits you, Mr. Duffert." And your baby is really beautiful. Congratulations. Ava's eyebrows shot up. Her mouth opened instinctively, to correct them, to put an end to the misunderstanding. Actually. But before she could finish, Nathanael stopped her with a subtle gesture, his gaze steady as he turned toward the doctor. And then, he said something that made her breath catch. Smooth, sincere, I'm blessed to have them in my life. The doctor's smirk deepened, nodding as if that was all the confirmation he needed before walking off. Ava stared at Nathanael, a mixture of surprise and confusion flickering across her face. Softly she asked,
"Why didn't you let me correct them?"
Nathanael exhaled, adjusting the cuff of his sleeve before meeting her gaze. He quietly answered, "Because it's true. You and your daughter, you're here. And somehow, I know I wouldn't want it any other way." Ava swallowed hard, suddenly unsure how to respond. Because for the first time, she saw something in his eyes she hadn't expected: honesty. Ava clutched her newborn close, her fingers smoothing over the soft fabric of the blanket, her heart full yet aching. She had her daughter. Her beautiful baby girl. But the weight of everything else pressed against her chest: Mireille, still unconscious in the ICU. The hospital bills stacking up. The reality of having no home to return to. Where would she go? How would she manage? She hadn't even begun to process the loss of the cottage, a place filled with memories, safety, Mireille's warmth, before the next crisis loomed overhead. Her breath wavered. She had never felt so utterly lost. And then, Nathanael spoke, cutting through the silence. "You're coming with me." Ava blinked, her grip tightening around her daughter. Hesitant she replied,
"I can't just."
"Ava, come on, you don't have a choice. Mireille is here. You need somewhere safe. You need stability." Ava swallowed hard. He was right. Even if the thought of entering his world, his structured life, the place where she didn't belong, sent unease crawling up her spine. Still. What other option did she have? She looked down at her daughter, who blinked sleepily, utterly unaware of the storm surrounding them. Mireille wasn't awake to guide her. She had to make this decision alone. Ava took a slow breath. Ava, quiet, uncertain.
"Okay."
And just like that, her life was about to change all over again. However, she wasn't willing to let Mireille alone in the hospital. Nathanael felt it, and as he stood near the hospital entrance, phone in hand, fingers tapping impatiently against the glass counter, his mind raced. Mireille was stable, but unconscious, and Ava, despite the exhaustion, was still fighting to stay alert, her worry for Mireille overriding everything else. This hospital was efficient, pristine, but it wasn't home. And Ava and the baby needed peace, not the constant noise of beeping machines and rushed conversations between doctors. The thought struck Nathanael fast, and without hesitation, he turned to Dr. Levine. "Transfer her. Now." His voice was firm, commanding. Dr. Levine adjusted his glasses, studying him carefully. "Mr. Duffert, moving an unconscious patient?" "Yes." "To my private medical suite," Nathanael cut in, his tone unwavering. "Shall receive better care." And Ava, he hesitated for half a second, then steadied himself. "Ava and Wonder need to feel safe." Dr. Levine sighed, but didn't argue. He knew the influence the Duffert name carried in this hospital. "I'll make the arrangements." The mansion had grown quiet in the past 10 days, a silence stretched between worry, exhaustion, and waiting. Ava sat beside Mireille's bed in Nathanael's private medical room, her daughter nestled against her chest, asleep. The nurses had cared for Mireille tirelessly, treating her as if she were their boss mother-in-law. But days had passed, and nothing changed. Ava's hope had begun to fade. She had spoken to Mireille, whispered stories about her daughter, prayed for her voice to break the silence, but the older woman remained motionless, trapped in the depths of unconsciousness. Ava was weeping. And then, it happened. A soft, almost imperceptible movement. A flicker of fingers, the slightest twitch of eyelashes. Ava blinked, her breath hitching. Had she imagined it? Then, Mireille's eyes opened. The moment froze. The world stilled. Ava gasped, gripping Mireille's hand, her emotions crashing over her all at once. Ava with shaking voice, "Mom."
Mom. Mom. You're awake.
Mireille blinked sluggishly, her gaze adjusting to the light, her breath slow, but real. Present. Alive. Ava let out a broken laugh, tears slipping down her cheeks as relief surged through her chest. She hadn't lost her. Not yet. Not ever. And in that moment, hope returned. Mireille's eyelids fluttered as the light above her grew sharper, her senses adjusting, slow and uncertain. The sterile scent of antiseptic lingered, the quiet hum of distant voices surrounding her, but there was warmth too. A presence. A touch. She focused, and then, she saw her.
Ava.
Tears welled in Ava's eyes, pure relief spilling from her breath as she clutched Mireille's hand like a lifeline. Ava with trembling voice,
Mom. Mom. Can you hear me?
Mireille's lips parted, her throat dry, words struggling to form. She tried to move, but her limbs felt foreign, weak. But she felt Ava's touch, grounding her, guiding her back. Ava sobbed, pressing Mireille's hand against her cheek, her grip gentle but desperate, as if she feared letting go would mean losing her all over again. Mireille, weak, hoarse.
Ava.
Ava's breath hitched, a broken laugh escaping her as she nodded furiously. Ava, laughing through tears.
Yes. Yes. I'm here. You scared me, Mom. I thought I lost you.
Mireille swallowed hard, her body aching, but her focus sharpening. Her gaze flickered past Ava, and there, nestled against her daughter's chest, lay something small. A bundle of soft blankets. Movement. A tiny hand peeking through. Mireille blinked slowly, realization creeping in. Ava had given birth. She had become a mother while Mireille lay in the dark. Mireille, barely a whisper.
Your baby.
Ava exhaled shakily, adjusting the blanket just enough to reveal her daughter's sleeping face, serene and untouched by the world's weight. Mireille's chest tightened.
She's wonder. She has missed you so much. But you're here now.
Her fingers twitched slightly, reaching, weak, trembling, but determined. And Ava, understanding immediately, guided her hand forward, letting Mireille's fingertips brush against Wonder's soft skin. A tear slipped down Mireille's cheek. She had survived to see this. And suddenly, none of the pain mattered anymore. Mireille blinked slowly, adjusting to the warmth of Ava's hand, the soft brush of the baby's skin beneath her fingertips. She was awake. She was here. But where was here exactly? Her gaze flickered across the room, the polished floors, the quiet hum of medical equipment, the pristine elegance that did not belong to the cramped familiarity of their cottage. Confusion settled in. This wasn't a hospital, not in the way she had expected. And then, her eyes landed on him. Nathanael. He stood in the doorway, his hands tucked into his pockets, expression unreadable, yet distinctly present. Not just an observer, but a fixture in their world now, unexpected, unwavering, undeniable. Mireille's brow furrowed, her voice scratchy as she turned to Ava. Mireille, soft but firm.
Where are we?
Ava swallowed, adjusting her daughter carefully before exhaling. How could she explain all of it, the fire, the hospital, the whirlwind of changes that had led them here? Before she could form the words, Nathanael stepped forward, his presence shifting from the edges of the room into focus. Nathanael, calm, direct, you're in my home. Mireille's gaze sharpened. Her home? No, his. A mansion. A world apart from theirs. She looked to Ava again, searching for the missing pieces. Mireille, soft, uncertain.
How did we end up here?
Ava hesitated, not because she didn't have answers, but because saying them out loud made everything feel heavier. Ava, whispering,
Rest, Mum. We'll talk later.
the word struck. Mireille's fingers twitched against the blanket, her breath faltering as memory returned in sharp flashes, the rush to the hospital, the stove left burning, the call. Nathanael watched her reaction carefully. This was the moment, the weight of truth settling on her shoulders. She closed her eyes briefly, exhaling through the ache in her chest. Her home. Her memories. The life she had built. Gone. Mireille, weak but steady, all's gone. And him? Her gaze shifted to Nathanael. A question unspoken, but clear. Ava swallowed hard, looking toward him instinctively. How did she explain why he stayed? Why he took them in? Nathanael, quietly, because you needed somewhere safe. Mireille studied him, searching for something, his reasoning, his intent, the unspoken truth beneath his actions. And for now, she accepted it.